Welcome to part 5, everybody. All right, we made it to part 5. And I'm guessing you're really tired after part 4, all that test-taking stuff I hit you with over the last couple days. So here's some good news about today. A, it's interesting. B, it's simple. And C, you get to work with your people for the most part, which is exactly what I think the doctor ordered at this point. And the topic is called The Changing Face of the American People in the 1840s and 1850s. That's an eggheady way of saying immigration. And if you were absent, I started class with this question. How many countries are represented in my classroom? And one of the reasons I like teaching at Clarenceville, I love the diversity of my students. I have students from all over the world, first generation, second generation, third generation. People who've been here for so long, they're not sure where they're from, which brings me to my point. I am fully aware not everybody can fire off an easy answer to this. For example, you might just not know. You might have been in America for so long that ethnic affiliation is gone. Or if you are one of my African American students, you're like saying, I know my people came from West Africa, but I can't say it's Ghana or Gambia or Nigeria or wherever. So I get that. But the point of me even asking this is, A, diversity is a good thing. It's cool that we come from all these different places in the world. People brought their talents and their energies from all over to this country and made it for what it is. And B, that all of us, in a sense, you go back far enough, unless you are a full-blooded Native American, we are all immigrants. We all come from an immigrant experience, okay? So when did you arrive? Now, there were 4 major waves of U.S. immigration, and one side of your family may have come on one side and one may have shown up on the other. I'm a perfect example. I took my own ethnic background. My mother is 100% Swedish, and her people arrived in the second wave, and my father is 100% Italian, and his people arrived in the third wave. And I don't think I'm unusual. I'm sure some people in the class have a similar experience. Why did your people arrive? Was it a push or a pull? Push is something negative. Famine, oppression, fleeing for your life from a war. Pull is something positive. Hey, I got a better job. I fell in love with somebody. I'm going to follow them. People move for good reasons and bad reasons, push and pull. What did your ancestors do when they got here? Did they have an easy gig? Did they have a rough gig? How were they making their money? I think a lot of your answers are going to be automotive related because we're in Detroit, okay? Why Detroit? I'm thinking it's for the dough, not the weather. I mean, we live on a friggin' ice cube for 6 months a year, right? So we all have this immigrant experience if you go back far enough and you're not a full-blooded Native American, okay? So anyway, we started off with some map interpretations and we sat in groups, and bear in mind, it's very likely one of the stimulus questions on your AP exam are going to be a map or a graph. So you and your people, you interpreted this digital one. I'm not going to play it now, but it's also on Google Classroom. It's embedded in this PowerPoint. Map number 2, you can see those waves. Now, the first wave is not shown here. That first wave of enslaved people from West Africa and people from the British Isles, the people who were part of the 13 colonies. But bear in mind, we are here in the second wave, and you can see the Irish and German part of the second wave and the third wave of people from Southern and Eastern Europe. And then we see this fourth, more modern wave, people from Asia and the Middle East and Mexico and whatnot, okay? So we have these maps, okay, that we interpreted. This one's pretty. Wow, that's a cool looking map. But you had to interpret it. So once we interpreted the maps, in your groups, I gave you one of these experiences mentioned in the books: the Chinese experience, the German experience, the Irish experience, and the Mexican experience in the Southwest. And you researched these 4 experiences. And there's the page numbers logistically. If you are watching this because you were absent, sorry, you got to do the whole shebang yourself. And please focus up on any key vocab in there. So in class, each of the groups reported out to the people about their experiences. And what we looked for is the commonalities and the differences. And bear in mind, commonalities, I think it's safe to say, just about every immigrant that showed up in America wanted to give a better life to their children. I think that's a commonality they all share. It's hard to acclimate in learning a new language. I think that's a common immigrant experience. I think there's a lot of pushback when they arrive. That's a common experience. Sometimes this need for an ethnic enclave. And I've traveled all over the place. There's Chinatowns in a bunch of cities. And Hamtramck started off as a Polish ethnic enclave. Okay, so that's the commonality parts. Now, differences, here's a political cartoon. There's the Irish guy with the whiskey barrel, and there's the German guy with his beer barrel. and they are stuffing the ballot boxes, a little anti-immigrant flavor. And again, every experience had a little bit of a different reason why they left, that sort of thing. So we shared out, and there is a part of the there is a vocab term in your book which relates to this, but I think it's bigger because the Know Nothing Party is a defunct political party formed from the wreckage of the Whig Party and some disaffected Northern Democrats in 1854. But I think why we learn about the Know Nothing Party is that when you are anti-immigrant, you can galvanize a political party. Recently, there's been a lot of anti-immigrant sentiment, build this wall, that sort of thing. And there's been anti-immigrant sentiments throughout American history, and it's politically a powerful tool. And you can look at the Know Nothing Party in blue here, and they took 22% of the popular vote. A party predicated on anti-immigrants got about a quarter of the people to vote for them. Okay, so the Know Nothing Party, that's the 1854, but their ideas have, kept going throughout time, if you get that. Okay, so to wrap things up, the analogy in class that I give, immigration is a lot like a stoplight, okay? There are red lights, yellow lights, green lights. There are some times in history where they say, immigrants, stay out. We don't want you. There's the yellow lights where they're saying, well, we'll take a few, jump through some hoops. And then there's some green lights, those 4 waves where they're saying, hey, come on to America, and a ton of people showed up. Now, the second wave we looked at would be the green light in that analogy. Now, the vast majority of us are here due to immigration. Okay, bear that in mind. So for people who are saying, oh, these lousy immigrants, I question them to say, somebody said that about your people at some point. Okay, how quickly we forget. Maybe because I'm the grandson of immigrants, it's a little fresher in my head, and it'll be less so to my kids and my grandkids. Okay, if you get that. And America has more immigrants than any other nation on earth. And I know that's a fairly heavy claim, so I have included my source to prove my claim, because I don't want to be a hypocrite. I ask you to give me evidence for your claims. There's mine. And then there are certain commonalities in the immigrant experience, but also differences brought about due to religion, race, and circumstances of the time. Okay, to wrap things up. And the assignment from class, again, if you were absent, please do this. Interpret the meaning of the 4 maps that were presented. Okay, map interpretation skill. What were the commonalities and differences in the immigration experiences of the 4 groups we researched? I want to know, what was it like for Chinese immigrants, Irish immigrants, German immigrants, and the Mexican people post the U.S.-Mexican War? And then the final part of the assignment, please answer in AP style, give it your best effort, the following question. How did native-born Americans react to immigrants in the 1840s and the 1850s? How did new immigrants react to their new surroundings? Okay, so that is it, and I hope part 5 is a good section of class for you, and I appreciate you watching.